following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
Thank you, Tally Olson. I am back, comfortably zoned, with me, the Zigzag Man, the Tokin Jew of Alameda, Tokin with an I, and proud of it. What I do and what I promise my audience week after week is that you will meet some of the most interesting human beings on the planet on my podcast. Today is no exception. They are two people who have been in the Comfortably Zoned network for going on 5 years now. I'm so proud that to have them on the network. Start with Alan Blumkin because A goes first. How are you, Alan?
Hanging in there.
Good. Keep doing that. I would say that hanging in there is like 90% of it all.
Closer to 99, Ralph.
Closer to 99. You know me, I'm always conservative. Yeah. David Nemec, nice to hear your voice.
Yours too. Pleasure to be with you again.
Let me tell you, the last time I thought of you was last week when I was doing a show with Danny Puri. And he's an old athletic fan, and his favorite ball player of all time is Vic Power. Now, Vic Power was instrumental in the 1959 greatness of your Cleveland Indians. So you see how baseball, the thought process goes. Tell me something real quick about Vic Power that we may not know, and then we're going to get to what the show is all about today. I want both of your opening day experiences. But first, Vic Power, because I love the guy too. I think he was the greatest fielding first baseman that in my generation.
Could
be that.
He began as
go ahead.
But okay. You want me to say something, Ralph, about him? I remember him well.
I do. I want you to talk about Vic Power.
I met him. I saw him first in spring training in 1954 in West Palm Beach, Florida, where the A's were training. He was then with the A's. The Yankees didn't want him. They did not want him to be the first black player on their roster, so they dealt him to the A's. And he was the A's superstar, if you can call him that, because he was as close to one as it came in 1954. They had an awful team. And by 1959, when he came to Cleveland, he was a hit right away. Vic Power drove a pink Cadillac with the top down. I don't care where you were in town. Eventually, you were going to see that pink Cadillac if you were downtown after an evening after an afternoon game, or if you were there on a weekend after a game. And nobody, I don't think any cop ever stopped Vic Power to talk to him, anything but to talk to him. They might have stopped him to talk to him, but I don't think the guy ever got a ticket. He was loved in Cleveland, and I loved him. And Danny had great choice, because Vic, in my mind too, was one of the finest players of that period, and a great first baseman.
And it's interesting that in your choices, he was the most abused by the Yankees of anybody I know. They're honoring Elston Howard's memory this year by they're saying it's an honor that he was called up in 1955. I think just mentioning it is is a disgrace to Vic Power's name.
You know want to know what happened?
Tell me.
Okay. Vic Power was Puerto Rican. A dark-skinned Puerto Rican. His girlfriend at the time was light-skinned. And George Weiss, who was the Yankee general manager, didn't want anybody like that on the team. He didn't want any flashy black ball players. He wanted ball players like Howard who would blend in to the point where he was almost unnoticed as a black person.
Mm-hmm.
So he shipped them to the A's after the 1953 season, and the deal which brought the Yankees Eddie Robinson, who was essentially done by then, and a pitcher named Harry Bird, who was coming off a 20-loss season.
Okay.
Vic went to the A's, and he went with them. He had that first rookie year in Philly, and then he went to Kansas City with them. And he was traded to Cleveland with infielder outfielder named Woody Held for three players, one of whom was Roger Maris.
Yeah, what Power came up as an outfielder. Power
because they had Skowron was playing first base in Kansas City. Yeah.
Actually, the Power's rookie year, they had another guy at first base, a guy named Lou Limmer.
Oh, he couldn't hit it all.
He couldn't. No, he had power. He had power, but he had power behind him in the outfield, and he didn't have power to hit as a hitter.
Lou Limmer was terrible. Yeah,
he was, but he had a lot of holes in his swing. But Power stood out immediately. And West Palm Beach in the stadium was segregated seating, and because Power was on the A's, and they had a pitcher named Bob Trice, the section reserved for blacks was always filled, almost every exhibition game. And I was on the high school team at that time, so I got a chance to see almost every home exhibition game the A's played that year, and it was clear that Power was going to be their best player, and they didn't have much competition.
And he could play second base as well. Wasn't just first base.
He could. He could. He could play center field. And
did occasionally. Okay, guys, let's go to your World Series memories. I'm going to start with you, David, if you would.
You mean opening day?
I'm sorry. Your opening day memories. I'll have to edit that.
Well, you actually hit it on the head, Ralph, because my opening day memory, my first opening day game I ever attended, ended up being the first appearance ever in the World Series for the winning team. So it was 1965, and I was in graduate school, and we had a convention in Minneapolis that fell during the Masters tournament and golf, of course, and then also for the Twins home opener. They were playing at Metropolitan Park at the time, a very nondescript park, not a great park for baseball at all. And I rounded up about 8 people who were at the convention. We had a break that afternoon. We drove out to the ballpark, wondered if we'd get tickets if it was opening day. Maybe we'd have to sit in the bleachers, but we figured we'd figure it out when we got there. And once we got there was snow piled all around the stadium. But it had been cleared, and the field was immaculate. We walked into the stadium. We ended up buying grandstand seats. We really could have had seats right behind the Yankees dugout, because the Twins were playing the Yankees opening day. And the Twins were coming off a second division finish. They tied it for the Indians, I think, for 6th place in 1964. And nobody expected much of them in 65. And they were playing the Yankees, who were coming off 5 straight pennants. So everybody who came, and there weren't that many in attendance, 15,000 probably tops, expected to see the team that was going to win the pennant that year. And never, probably very few people expected that team would be the Minnesota Twins. And the game progressed. Cott pitched against Boughton. Boughton got hammered in the first few innings. He was out after about 5 innings. Cott was doing great. And then Rich Rollins got hurt. And for some reason, and I'll never figure out why, Killebrew started at first base. I expected Sam Mealy to move Killebrew to third base when Rich Rollins got hurt, and then put Mincher in at first base. But instead, he left Killebrew at first base and brought a guy named Cesar Tovar out of the dugout to play third base. It was Tovar's first major league game. And he had tried out at second base, and he'd been beaten out for the job by Jerry Kindle. But because the rosters were still, I think they were actually up to 30 at that time still in May. You can have 30 till the end of May, or maybe it was only the end of April, I'm not sure, or May 15th. So the roster was still pretty full, and Tovar had a spot on the bench. And Tovar was called out to replace Rollins at third base. Man, first ball hit to him, Tom Tresh, third inning. Right, first batter, right, ground ball right to him. Tovar threw him out. Second ball hit to him, he fumbled. Bobby Richardson reaches base. And Tovar, has his problems during the game. But the Twins go into the ninth inning, top of the ninth inning, with a run lead. They get 2 out. And Mickey Mantle gets a single, putting runners on first and second with 2 out. And who do you, if either of you guys, and Al, you're a big Yankees fan, if you can tell me who ran for Mickey Mantle, it's worth a fortune. Believe
Russ
me.
Machio?
Nope.
Jack Reed.
Jack Reed.
No. This is a hard one. This is really a hard one. Art Lopez. Art Lopez.
Oh, Arturo Lopez. Yeah, I remember him. But I don't remember him running for Mantle. Yeah, sure. I remember the name.
You remember?
Yeah.
You remember running for Mantle that day? Okay,
no,
you're great.
No.
Because, but he did. And the next batter up was Joe Pepitone, 2 outs. Pepitone hits a routine pop fly to third base. Tovar camps under it, drops the damn ball. The Yankees scored the tying run, and the fans all around us, and there aren't that many, they're grumbling, Yankees. Of course, the Yankees, they're going to have to do it opening day. And they do this. And then it goes into extra innings. And in the 11th inning, the Twins get a couple guys on, and who is up in the 11th inning with 2 out? I think it's 2 out, pretty sure, but Cesar Tovar. And what does Cesar do? He hits a single and brings home the winning run. The Twins win their opener. And I don't know if they ever really looked back, because they won that pennant without a whole lot of trouble, as I recall.
Who was the Yankee pitcher?
The Yankee pitcher at the time was Pedro Ramos.
Oh, wow. Okay, because I would assume it would have been Pete Mickelson, because he was very, very good at that type of thing.
They used Mickelson. They used 3 or 4 pitchers. The Twins, Cott had pitched into the 9th, and he was relieved by a guy named, I think his name was Jerry Fosnow. And Fosnow got the win. Now, if you remember Jerry Fosnow, you're way ahead of me.
I've heard the name, okay. I couldn't tell you anything else about him. I couldn't tell you anything about him, but I've heard the name.
But Tovar, even though Tovar went from GOAT to hero in the space of the game, he didn't stay with the team. He was cut when they had to get down to 25. Didn't come back. I don't think he came back up that season. If he did, it wasn't until late. And it wasn't until later in his career that he proved to be a really fine ball player. But that day, when he dropped that pop fly, people around me just were hysterically angry. They were so furious.
Yeah. Hey, guys, Bernie Allen and Rich Rollins were instrumental on that team, and they came along as rookies, but after that, they their careers fizzled for one reason or another. Is there?
No, Ellen was gone by 65. They actually got Jerry Kindle and handed him the job. And finally, when he was hitting below 200 late in the season, they called up a guy who became their future manager.
Frank
And this
Quillisi.
is the guy. Exactly. This is a guy that's very little remembered today. But he wasn't even on the roster, I don't think, at the time that the opening day game. But they used Mickelson, they used they used Hal Reniff, and Ramus came in and he took the loss, and Fosnow got the win. But it was really a fantastic game, and what was crazy about it, along with the Twins winning the way they won, Tovar going from goat to hero, was the Yankees made 5 errors in the course of the game, and the Twins made 3. It was like a spring training game, opening day of spring training.
And it marked the end of a dynasty, basically.
It did. Absolutely. Nobody could have predicted the Yankees would finish where they did in 1965. Nobody could have imagined they'd finish in last place in 66 at that point.
In 65, they started to play decently, and they went into Minnesota over July 4th weekend. And there was a game that the Yankees were either tied or ahead by a run or two. And they Johnny King brought in Mickelson to pitch to Killebrew, and Killebrew hit one out. And the Yankees had a crushing defeat, and they just totally unraveled after that.
Yes, for years. I mean, how many years did it take them to come back? And until George bought the team, your man, your coach.
My old Junior Olympics coach. But by 1965, what was kind of key here was they were running for Mickey Mantle in the 9th inning, and it was crazy. Mantle represented the tying run, and they ran for him. I mean, just imagine if 10 years earlier you had been told that they would be running for Mickey Mantle when he was still a fairly young guy at 65. He wasn't that old, but
he was 33.
His legs were just shot. Knees and
that's what they moved him to first base. They moved him out of center field to one of the corner positions, and then they moved him to first base his last 2 years.
He
played center field in opening day. The center fielder was Tresh. Mantle played left, and Maris played right. And Tresh, of course, then became the shortstop. Also, and Tresh fell off the table as a hitter. The whole team fell off the table. It's crazy.
Hey, we'll never forget how fierce the competition for the original shortstop was between Kubek and Tresh. I think Tresh got hurt in the course of his career, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, you're right. He did.
Well, Tresh came up, and he was the shortstop in '62 because Kubek was in the Army. He was in a guard unit, a reserve unit that had been activated for the Berlin crisis in 1961. He didn't get out of the Army till I think it was August 1962. So until he came back, Tresh played shortstop, and then when Kubek came back from the Army, Tresh went into left field.
Hey, and there was another good shortstop in those days.
MVP that year.
That was Linz. Phil Linz was in on that mix.
The only thing anybody remembers him for is the harmonica.
But what you have to remember is the MVP that year played shortstop on opening day, and I saw for the Twins.
Oh, Zorro Rosales.
Possibly the worst position. The worst position player in history ever to get an MVP.
And
Bob O'Farrell was close.
he was coached up that year by Billy Martin, who really, they say he was responsible for that Versailles pulling a year out of you know what. But he was MVP, and got to give him that.
Should have been Tony Oliva.
Yeah. Oh, with Billy Martin?
No, the MVP that year should have been Tony Oliva.
Oh, should have
Probably.
been. Okay.
Yeah, he won the batting title, and he played a solid right field. His legs were still all there, and Kilbur had a pretty good year too. But they didn't have that great a team. Rollins really started to fall apart in '65. He didn't have a great year in '64. If you remember Rollins in the early '60s, he looked like he was probably going to be the best third baseman of the decade in the American League. But by '65, '66, he was down. It was down. I don't know whether his legs went or something. Maybe even that day they pulled him out. Mealy pulled him out of the lineup, and Tovar came in at third base. I think the third or fourth inning, after Rollins had come to the plate twice, and the second time he walked, and the first time he walked, the second time I think he made an out. And there was no explanation then. I mean, nobody said anything. None of the crowd. They announced Tovar in at third base. Nobody knew who Tovar was. Nobody around us anyway knew who he was. And I'd never heard of him.
Since that day, Tovar played all 9 positions in a game.
And he's most famous for getting the one vote for MVP in 1967 that didn't go to first place vote that didn't go to Collier Yastrzemski.
Oh wow! Well,
it may have been justly deserved too, because the twins were right there the whole way. And
Yastrzemski won the Triple Crown, and they won the pennant. The Red Sox, yeah.
Yeah, if the Twins had won the pennant, it would have been interesting. It might not have been Yastrzemski, even though he won the Triple Crown.
All they had to do was beat the Red Sox one of the last 2 games, and they didn't.
No, they couldn't. They couldn't do it.
Yeah,
I remember watching those games.
Okay. Hey, we're gonna go to Al Blumkin, and Al, I want your favorite opening day, not World Series, like I said before. Opening day memories. Al Blumkin.
Well, I went to 2 of them in the same ballpark in 1975.
Wow.
I was at the Met opening game because my office I was working for IBM. My office got a bunch of tickets, and they took us. And it was so damn cold. And it was about 39, 40 degrees there. And, being a Shea Stadium, of course, you also had a nice little wind. And and I think it was Joe Torre, who was playing for them by then, hit into a double play to end the game in the 9th inning. Yeah, they wound up losing the game. And everybody was cheering when he hit the double play. It means he could get out of there. It was so damn cold. And the same year, the Yankees, that was one of the second year the Yankees played the whole schedule in Shea because it was that was during the original Yankee Stadium renovation. And they had just gotten Catfish Hunter as a free agent from the A's when Finley messed up Catfish's contract. And so a lot of people went to see Catfish Hunter pitch, and he won. And but that day was somewhat milder. It was a week later. And I was also at the opening game in '76 when they reopened Yankee Stadium after the renovation. And the Yankees beat the Twins 11-4, and the first home run was hit by Disco Dan Ford.
Disco Dan
of Minnesota, yeah.
From the Minnesota Twins,
yeah.
if I'm not mistaken.
The other ones I've been at, I was at the 1961 opening day in Forbes Field.
Well, that must have been a great,
they raised
great
the banner.
way to
And the Pirates were the defending world champions. They had them open up on the West Coast, which I thought was ridiculous. They played 6 games with the Dodgers and Giants before coming home. The Pirates won the game as they did in 1960, coming from behind. 1960, they had about 25 games where they were trailing most of the game, and they came back and won. And everybody thought, oh, this is going to be another year. And then a couple of days later, Vernon Law hurt his arm, and that was it.
Yeah, so much for a dynasty.
Well, probably the most important opening day ever was April 15th, 1947.
Yes, Jackie.
Yeah, in fact, a writer named Jonathan Elg produced a book called Opening Day. It's totally about the the first day that Jackie Robinson played in the Major League game.
Yeah, I mentioned this before, but Martin Luther King, when told that Mr. Reverend King, you are the godfather of all of this, he deferred to Jackie Robinson as saying Jackie Robinson was the most important and influential, because that's how important baseball was in those days. I mean, if that happened today, it'd be totally different. But Jackie Robinson is responsible for the civil rights movement succeeding, or at least the godfather of it.
Well, there's 2 things, and I'm sure Ron Rabinovich would appreciate this. I'm reading Peter Golenbach's book that just came out. I read the chapter yesterday on Rex Barney, and he goes through the whole thing with Robinson. And Rex accepted him right away because Rex was from Nebraska. But every time Jackie's birthday and Babe Ruth's birthday roll around, and Jackie is the 31st of January and Ruth is the 6th of February, put down the 2 most important baseball players of the 20th century.
No question. In no particular order, if you think about it. And thank God. Anything you guys want to close with?
Oh, I can talk about the opening day game at 185. The San Francisco Giants opening day game. It was at the Stick. They were playing the defending National League champion Padres. And I had worked on a team yearbook that year, and it really was a hard job to make the team seem like it was even going to be a semblance of a major league team that year, because they really were down in the dumps. And they looked like every hint of being a cellar finisher. But I managed to beef it up enough in the yearbook that I got a couple tickets to the game, actually 4 tickets altogether. I took 3 friends, and I got a choice of where to sit. And I wanted to sit out in the sun. I wanted to be sure we were in the sun, because it can be windy there. It could be cold, and if you happen to get in the shade, you'd feel it. So I chose a seat in the bleachers, and we all 4 sat out in the bleachers. And the Giants beat the Padres in extra inning. No, I'm sorry. They came into the top of the 9th inning, leading 3-2. The Padres scored the tying run. The Giants had to bring on Vita Blue in his first appearance in the Giants uniform to retire the last batter. I think it was Tony Gwynn, actually. And then the bottom of the 9th, the Giants got a couple runners on against Jose de Leon and Chris Brown. And, bro, if you remember Chris Brown, I know.
Oh, yeah.
Chris Brown brought the winning run home. The Giants won 4-3. Blue got the win, and the three guys I brought with me went crazy. There were about 50-some thousand people there today, so it was a huge crowd, and probably their biggest crowd of the season, I'm sure, because crowds really dwindled quickly after that. Once people saw what kind of team they really had, and all my three friends were all talking. Hey, they're going to go. They're good. They're going to win this year. And I'm saying, no, they aren't. They'll be lucky if they don't finish last. Oh, come on! You're so depressing. You saw what happened. Vita Blue won, opening its first appearance. Come on. Look at Chris Brown. Chris Brown is going to be great. And, we know what Chris Brown turned out to be, Ralph. And we know what the Giants did. Yeah.
Didn't Chris Brown get killed in Iraq?
He may have, but not as a soldier.
No, he was working for one of the contractors. Yeah.
Yeah.
Chris Brown was killed in Iraq?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Willie had a relationship with Chris Brown where he would buy him a bottle of scotch if he didn't drink before games.
Oh, boy.
He was an incredible abuser of that's a drug. He's a drug abuser. If alcohol is a drug, Chris Brown did that, and it's really sad. That guy had some massive power, and that it didn't come through. I liked him. He was a very personable guy. I lived in Northern California in those days, so I got to see my old New York Giants bastardized in a San Francisco Giant uniform, and I had a lot of mixed emotion because can't blame the players, and there's always a connect between this generation and the last generation. And if you go back 4 players, they were teammates in New York. So, and if you still go back far enough, you could find a connect. And one more thing. When the Giants played the Dodgers, it brings, even though San Francisco and LA doesn't care about the rivalry so much, it brings a certain something to the ballpark. There's a buzz when the Giants and Dodgers play, just like when Boston plays the Yankees. It never will go away. I think the most important rivalry we've ever seen is the Giants and Dodgers. That's my.
You're right, Ralph, because I saw that in San Francisco, because I saw the Dodgers play the Giants a couple of times in the Stick. I never saw them at the new stadium, but I did see them at the Stick a couple of times, and there was that buzz. And but when I was in Dodger Stadium, I saw the Giants play there once, and it was just, well, okay, it's the Giants, and they're, even though the Giants, I think, were coming off one of their pennant seasons within the early teens this century, and okay, they're playing the Giants, big deal, nothing special, and wasn't treated as special in any way. The fans around me weren't that thrilled, or it was just like playing Cincinnati or the Cubs or Cardinals or whoever. It was special in San Francisco.
Hey, David and Alan, let me allow me to talk about a player who just passed this last week. You mentioned that rivalry, and it was T. Davis, and Tommy was something else.
Until he busted his leg up in 1965. That was the same year Cepeda missed half the season, most of the season. I think it was 65 when Cepeda tore his leg up, and when I'm getting traded to Cardinals.
Right. Ray Sadecki, who incidentally, Ray Sadecki was a bust with the Giants, but was life-saving for the Mets. Helped win a pennant in '73 as a solid bridge guy. So let me ask you guys, on opening day, this is the second opening day. They opened yesterday, they opened today, some teams. Is baseball still not the greatest thing since Wheaties?
Not anymore.
No, I have to agree with Al. It's not the same.
I watched a lot of the Yankee Red Sox game today, more than I've watched, probably more than I watched the entire season last year. And
I heard that Yankee game on MLB radio.
Yeah, you know where the Mets game is tonight up here. Here they're on Apple TV Plus.
Yeah.
And they're on Apple TV Plus, and the Yankees have 21 home games. It used to be on local TV here. They're going to be on Amazon Plus. So
that's disgusting.
So the streaming, that's how much these owners care about the fan. So anyway, that's the first time I ever saw on TV. The game went 11 innings when they brought in the Ghost Runner in the extra innings. And when the Red Sox didn't get the Ghost, couldn't have even advanced the Ghost Runner in the 11th inning. They both scored once in the 10th. I knew the Yankees were going to win the game, which they did in the bottom of the 11th. The Yankees only used 8 pitchers. The Red Sox used 5, and the game only took 4 hours and 10 minutes.
I thought they were going to do away with that runner.
No, they were going to, but the Players Association brought it up.
The players wanted it?
They wanted it, yeah, because they don't want to be out there for 5 hours, 7 hours playing extra inning games.
I can't believe that.
They were only making $750,000 to start. You don't expect them to play 9 innings plus.
Aaron Judge turned down a $230 million 7-year offer from them today.
You're kidding.
No.
You got to be kidding. Oh, my God.
DeGrom wants to throw away his option and go out there.
With his track record of injuries, people are going to throw money at him like that?
Yes, they probably will. That's scary.
Unfortunately, I have to. Yeah, I agree. They will. Yeah. Hey guys, Ralph, why do you? I really want to know. Why do you say it's still the greatest game? Why do you feel it is?
It's all with my heart. It's opening day. The grass is green. Hope springs eternal, and it's memories like this that we shared.
Well, the memories are big. I agree. Opening day does bring memories. I really agree.
And
with
not
that.
only that, memories are everything in our lives. Yeah. That's all we have.
Well, you're right. And summing it up at the end. It's what you remember, and how you remember it, and who remembers you, and how they remember you. And
the three of us are still can remember. The names are obscure at best to most people, and we, with very few exceptions, the three of us can put a face, a baseball card, an instance, and it keeps our brains alive. And so happy that you're both articulate and could appear with me at a regular time.
I like trivia questions. Can I leave with one trivia question? This is for the listening audience. Okay. There were a massive number of 20-game winners in 1889, 21 altogether. Only one pitcher in 1889, and he was a 20-game winner, won a game in the 20th century. Only one of the pitchers active in 1889 won a game in the 20th century. This is a really hard question. It's something you need to think about. You almost have to look at the stats. The guy is actually famous for something else. He's very well known for something else, and that is that he's the only player from the Union Association to play as an active major leaguer in the 20th century. That is something you remember for. He's not remembered for the pitching win, but that's equally important, of course. So I know you're listening, audience. Some of them are. I hope some of them enjoy this and work on it and have fun when they find the answer. I think they will.
I hope that the listening audience had fun, because if they couldn't have fun with this baseball show, Al Blumkin and David Nemec, there's nothing I can say for you. You may be on the wrong broadcast if this hasn't been a thrill, because it has been for me. Thank you for what you've given the network over the years and what you've given my opening day celebration. Alan Blumkin.
Well, thank you, Ralph.
Thank you, Ralph.
My
thank
pleasure.
you, Ralph. I really appreciate it.
And David and I hope to keep everything more coming.
More, as long as you have ideas and you never run out of things to talk about, it is one of the mainstays of the network. Keep it going, guys, and keep healthy. Sei gesund.
Yeah.
You too, Ralph.
Thank you. Thank you for listening, everybody. Comfortably Zoned Radio Network. It's my pleasure to do this, and I enjoy the feedback too. So keep it coming. Adios.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
The proceeding has been a Comfortably Zoned Network production. You are advised to keep your dreams wet, your humor dry, your children and grandchildren out of military recruiting offices and off the laps of clerics who wear dresses. Thank you for listening, everyone. Happy trails.